All right, today I'm talking to Kieran Toohey. Kieran is a peer and community advisor at Open Arms Veterans and Families Counseling Service. He graduated from UNSW with a Bachelor of Science Psychology. Since then, he's done his Cert 4 in mental health peer work, and he's thinking about doing some more study in neuroscience. Thanks for being with me, Kieran. Hi.
Hey, Denise, thanks for having me as well.
So let's actually start with what you're doing now. Let's start there. What's your job now? What have you done after psychology for work?
First, after the degree, I worked in suicide prevention in male-dominated industry like construction and mining. So case management was looking after the specific needs of individuals and pointing them in the right direction for clinical and other supports and community supports. So construction, then mining. And then the last 2 years of the mining job, I saw a role come up with Open Arms Veterans and Families Counselling and decided to apply for that so I could go back and give back to the veteran community, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I know, Kieran, because you've told me before, you are also an ex-Defence Force, is that right? Ex-Army?
Yeah, so 13 years in the Australian Army with different deployments in different locations. So it's pretty good.
What do you actually do as a peer community advisor for this group? What does that job look like?
So the role can be divvied in half, and half can be presenting. So I teach ASSIST, Applied Suicide Intervention Skills training to the community of veterans and their family members who want to learn more about that. Safe Talk, which is a shorter version. Presentations about what I went through and experienced in the military for an audience who want to learn. And also case management. Again, some people feel a certain way about seeing a clinician, and having myself there who's used clinical psychologists for my own support, I'm able to help bridge that gap between the client and the clinician. And we can have discussions back and forth, myself with the clinician and myself with the client. And so far, it seems to be doing a really good job of it.
So to get the job you have now, you needed your undergrad in psych, but nothing higher than that. Is that right?
That's right. And to be fair, I didn't even need the psych degree. So it could be something that a student who's studying looks at doing before they finish too. Getting their foot in the door with a psychology organization or social work organization, and even attending to volunteer work is helpful, and can add to your experience and your CV as well when you apply for jobs after. But the case management role with the suicide prevention charity needed the degree. So they knew that there was a certain level of education. But this role is mostly, I should say, based on my experiences of, let's say, hitting rock bottom as a military veteran, and then how I used different tools and aids to recover from that role. If I could go back and do my degree, I wish I used the resources that the university had available to help me. Part of it was because I didn't know. Part of it was pride, and minimizing my story. Like, well, am I using a resource that someone else really needs, and downplaying it. Also, the pressure I put on myself to get into honours. Now, I wanted to be clinical psych. I put so much pressure on myself to get there, and I didn't get the score I needed, and I was so upset, and it really annoyed me. Turns out there's lots of things I can do. Turns out there's lots of things I have done and made a great impact too. So I thought I'd just share that reminder.
Thank you, Kieran. I think that's a beautiful message to share. I think that I'm sure I'm not the only person who has found it really interesting to listen to. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Denise.